Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with this one because now we have a resolution to our long national nightmare. Our long national nightmare is now over. We've got a conclusion to the chasing cardboard rock autograph saga. And depending on which side of the fence you fall into, it's either a satisfying conclusion or an unsatisfying conclusion. Now the fun part for me is that I got to react to Ty's video, initially responding to it, which if you go in my archives, maybe from in July, I certainly had a lot of fun with that. It was a very successful video for the channel, but what was fun for me, and if we do end up talking about it on Friday, which is certainly a possibility, is that I don't really have to change anything about it. The video stands on its own merits because I was focusing in on the response to it, which was terrible, and it still is. But obviously in this one, we've got the conclusion to it. Now we find out what the fate is of the rock autograph based on this live stream that was created. And what's fun for me, and part of the reason I can do this response to it, is that even in a victory lap, and that's a bit of a spoiler what happens with this one, even in a victory lap, the guys still managed to talk some kind of BS as far as that's concerned. So I'll touch on it. There's also a bunch of filler in this, and I'm not going to play you the whole thing. I will include a link to it in the description for you if you do want to sit there and watch it. There is a lot of filler involved in it, but I will skip a bunch of that for you, just so you don't have to sit there and listen to it. I'll focus in on the certain key pieces, but just to give you the front end of it, and without having to go necessarily back to my old video, even though I'll include a link to that in the description as well, my key piece that I focused on it was on the response that Ty had to it. And he says one thing on here that the reason why I say there's some BS, even in the victory lap, so to speak, is that he says something on here that he didn't say before. And if he had said it before, then I think a lot of the response they got to it would have been completely avoided, which is just very funny that all of a sudden, now that things have worked out kind of his way, now all of a sudden he's magnanimous enough to actually just say what he should have said in the first place, which is very funny. And then you'll get the full results on it as well, and then I'll comment on a few pieces related to that, and we'll put a button to it, at least from this channel's perspective, because that'll be it for this one, and then we'll kind of move on from there. And there were a couple of other little, a little bit more to playing the victim for these guys. As always, they are the aggrieved party in all matters, and everyone's out to get them. Well, except for the people that support them, and those people we appreciate, so that's important. So let me skip through a little bit of the filler for you. I'll do a little editing magic, and I'll come back from the start of the important part, and we'll skip some of the extra BS. Just to be clear, the fallback of it, again, we're missing a couple of important key pieces of information here. The fallback of it didn't really start until the Sports Card Radio did their video and did some of the other stuff. The video didn't come until after they had listed it initially, which, by the way, you're taking your chances. I'm going to explain why again at the end. But then the question was about the authenticity. It was brought up. Then you took it down. Then you relisted it. We're skipping the relisting part. You want to put it up the first time and take your chances? So be it. But as soon as there's a question, we expect this of Golden. We expect this of a bunch of the other auction houses. He's not an auction house, but I'm still saying, when they have something and the blowout detective agency says, hey, this is questionable. I know it's in the holder, but this was originally in this. This has been altered, blah, blah, blah. Based on our suspicions and a couple of pictures, we think there's something wrong with this. We expect Golden, we expect the auction house to take it down and investigate further, get it in the third-party graders' hands and figure out what's going on. That's our expectation. Our expectation, which is fine. But in this case, you as a seller who is operating this in kind of a professional-ish way, again, it's not your whole job necessarily, but it's a big chunk of thing you do with the content and the rest of it. Our expectation is as soon as there's a question in it, the next step is, hey, thanks for letting me know. Let me go look into this. That's it. That's all you got to do. By the way, I promise, I guarantee, even as much as there is peddling and negativity, and Lord knows there is, even as much as there is, I guarantee if after the initial question you take it off and then say, all right, let me look into it, and you don't relist it right away, I promise we're not having this video. You may not believe that, but I do. Like, what else is there to talk about then? All right, you had a question, you took it down, and you went to go check it out. Now, I'm actually going to play it from here. This is about 2.5 minutes in, because the first part of it is, a dramatic reenactment of basically Ty, being distracted and suddenly remembering they've got a live to do, and then they basically zoom into it. Again, great production values. I would expect nothing less from the Chasing Cardboard guys. If nothing else, they are excellent at the production values. I will speed it up slightly. I'll do 1 1/4. I think that's a good compromise, because it does take a little while for them to get into it. So I'll start off with the beginning. And I will fast forward through it a little bit, because even at the beginning, they stall for some additional time before they finally get to the damn point and give a little bit of the explanation of what the results were. So let me start there. I'll go into the transition, and then I'll come to the part where they finally give the results, and I'll talk about some of the pieces that I wanted to talk about.
Okay, so the second thing we're doing tonight is we're putting to bed an issue that came up, a storyline that came up about 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, and it has to do with something inside this box. There was a
What's in
Dwayne
the
Johnson,
box?
a rock
Oh my God,
auto
perfect
that I
timing.
sold that we still have to get authenticated. We're going to tell you exactly what happened here in a second. Let's go inside and go talk to Mike. Let's go. Oh, sorry.
Did you see how amazingly Ty was able to teleport from entering into a place to suddenly entering the live? I'm like, does everything have to be contrived? Can't you guys just do something straight up for once? Just for a change of pace, just for fun? But anyway, fine. Creative license. Have a good time. Get on with it.
Sorry, I'm late, man.
Oh, sorry. One more thing I wanted to say. I almost would not believe, like, I didn't watch this live, but I would almost not believe that this was anything resembling a live stream. I almost assumed that it would be like a premiere where they completely BS'd it for one specific reason. Because Mike's internet is always garbage on a lot of these live streams. It cuts in and out. For whatever reason, the Wi-Fi doesn't work. Like, and I say this because I've had him on a live stream before. And also he does his Golden Age of Cardboard. And the pixelation is like a constant thing. And right here, the camera's crisp. So either he magically found great internet or, you know, a little bit of this has been kind of arranged in advance. I'll just put it that way. But anyway, let's hit play for the beginning of it, and then we'll skip to the results here in a second.
Man.
Dude, I've been waiting on you. Everybody's been waiting on you. Are you tired?
I'm tired. Striker nailed it. That's the most I've exercised all year right there.
Exactly.
Just for content creation and all the fans. How you doing?
For the fans.
I'm good. This is our first ever Chasing Cardboard live stream.
It is. We've done a few live streams together in the past through Bench Clear, but here we are in Chasing Cardboard. How's your shoulder feeling, man?
Good. Somebody in the comments was saying that I'm going to be delirious from the pain meds. I am on 0 pain meds, not even Tylenol. I am actually in really good shape and having a good recovery so far. So thanks for asking.
Heck yeah. You had a legit surgery, and the fact that you're pain-free, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Well, I had a torn rotator cuff, 85% torn. You know how they fixed it? They actually tear the rest of it off and then put it all back together. And then torn labrum as well. So
Crazy.
yeah.
Crazy. Well, we have a lot to cover tonight, and we want to be efficient. So two really important things that we got to do right now.
Too late. Way too late. We're 4.5 minutes in. Too late, but fine. All right, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, and we'll get to the part where we get the results here. Now, part of the reason I wanted to skip ahead is because they actually stall for a bit talking about what they're going to give away and doing all this stuff. Like, that's all well and great. You know, the giveaway, that's fine. For the folks that decided to participate in and doing it, that's all well and good. I don't care. For my purposes, I want to focus in on the specific, but I do want to laugh because Mike actually stalls for even more time in this one a little bit to help out. You know, he's a good, helpful guy in this regard, but he does do a rundown on it as well. So just so I don't have to reiterate it, I'm actually going to get Mike Baseball Collector to do me a favor and quickly do the rundown. And I believe in this section is where I'm actually going to be able to give you one of the first pieces of BS based on what I have seen, unless I will put in the caveat that maybe I missed something, but I do have the original response archived in my video, so I definitely didn't hear it there, and that I'll get into it when we get into it. But let me go through this part here and let Mike give the synopsis.
But what's inside this box here?
Hold on. Way too soon. We have got to rehash kind of the situation.
It's over 7 minutes. It's not too soon.
So basically, you want me to give a quick synopsis?
Yeah, go for it. Give a synopsis. Yeah.
So had a rock autograph found in a collection that we had gotten in Tennessee. There were several autographs in this collection, a stack of autographs. 2 of them were Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Listed them on eBay. You listed them on eBay under the Chasing Cardboard eBay store.
I listed one on eBay.
One. I'm sorry, you listed one. It sold for $66, give or take.
Yep.
The buyer decided to get a BGS quick opinion that came back likely not authentic, is the word I think is used.
Yep.
And he didn't want to buy it based on that opinion. And okay, fine. The card got relisted, and then the fit hit the sham, right?
PG version of Mike. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah. I relisted. We knew the story. I'd actually called Rick back up and it was like, I remember you telling me about this auto. Are we sure this thing is real? He sent some information to me about the auto, and I'm like, oh, it's got to be real. So I didn't really believe the quick opinion, but we took it down anyway. And I put out a video just saying, hey, look, there was a shadow of doubt. I probably shouldn't relist it, right? And that was a mistake that
He never actually acknowledged that relisting it was the mistake. He talked around it. I know this because I did a response to the video and played the video in its entirety. He kind of skirted it and talked about negativity and talked about negative clicks and showed the thing of the ecology, did the cute little edit with the sports card radio guys, everything except the only issue, and that's the reason why I say I'm very comfortable standing behind my original video on this, because in the video, I never make any proclamations about whether the rock autographs are good or not. I don't know. So from my perspective on it, and it, to be honest, it didn't matter, because one of the things I gave in the scenarios that he outlined is, well, what if he's sending in 3 different autographs? He sent 2 Rock autographs and a Ty Cobb autograph. Well, what if 2 out of 3 are good and it wasn't the one that was listed? Then you can't say I told you so, because it actually, the opposite would have been true. Or if it turned out that, 1 out of the 3 was good, or 0 out of the 3 were good. There were a bunch of scenarios where, like, yeah, you're not in a position to really argue. And by the way, even if they had turned out to be legit, which, spoiler, I already kind of covered that at the beginning, it doesn't change the fact that once there was a shadow of a doubt that relisting it was a mistake, which Ty literally just said, but as far as I'm aware, and I'm happy to be corrected on it if somebody has him saying that somewhere else during the time period we're talking about, July time period, if he said that somewhere else, I missed it entirely. And we talked about it on the live stream, and I did a video on it, responding to it, literally playing the video in its entirety. That video is no longer available. The only copy available is in my video response to it, and nowhere in there did he say that. That would have been the first thing that you could have said, hey, I shouldn't have relisted it. That was the mistake. We'll go get it checked out. You say that, guess what? Some people are still going to complain. I agree 100%. But the rest of it is entirely self-inflicted. You did this by the way you decided to respond to it the first time, which was to be snarky, to be snippy, not to say what he just said a second ago. I'm going to back it up a second. He never uttered those words until, as far as I'm aware, right now. And that's the important part, completely glossed over in this, which is funny that he finally said it. So let me back up here a couple of seconds. There.
It's got to be real. So I didn't really believe the quick opinion, but we took it down anyway. And I put out a video just saying, hey, look, there was a shadow of doubt. I probably shouldn't relist it, right? And that was a mistake that I made. But I made a promise to everybody that we would send these off to get authenticated, because I really did believe Rick and the story and everything that we kind of put into it.
Hashtag trust Rick. By the way, he truly believed, which is good. But to be, like I said, in the original video, he didn't say that. He did say he was going to send it in. That's true. And he also said he was going to say, I told you so, if it came back correct. So just to be clear on that piece. And if I can, I'll see if I can find the clip about it. But regardless, though, that's basically the differentiator between the. And if you want to check it out, I do include a link to that. But now I'll let him talk through the rest of this piece.
Those autos are real. So
you had some serious conviction about what was behind it, and you trusted your gut.
And the hobby content world loved it.
Yeah, they loved it. Loved it. They called you about every name in the book. So just in case you weren't paying attention, you were being thrown under the bus quite a bit. So
yeah, well, we talked quite a bit. My approach was just to let's be slow to speak. Let's be slow to speak, let it play out, and handle it the way we feel like we need to handle it.
I call BS on that too. Again, the archive video was literally you being snippy and responding back to it. If you had been slow to speak, that also would have been a better response than what you actually did. So that is bullshit. That is a complete lie and fabrication. Nope. You were snippy in a variety of different areas. You were not slow to respond. You could have just said, hey, we're going to send it and we'll find out and we'll come back to you with the response. Instead of include the rest of the stuff, include a promo for Chasing Cardboard and all the rest of the BS. Oh, and then a video teaching us about autographs as if you're an expert in the field. But anyway, sure, go with your narrative. Why not pretend that that's what you actually said and what you actually did? That isn't what actually happened, just so we're clear. But okay, continue with the victory lap.
So we sent them off to get authenticated, and here we are tonight. I called you a few days ago and said, I got a knock on the door from FedEx. And it was PSA, which, to be honest, man, I'd forgotten about it. I actually forgotten about it.
That's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Do you want to see what's inside the box?
I do want to see.
Does anybody want to see what's inside the box?
Of course. I want to know what's going on.
Almost 10 minutes in. Yes.
How many likes do we have on this video right now? I think that's important.
111. We need to be at least 200.
We got to be at 200. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a second to click the like button, and then I'm going to show you a quick clip of some upcoming episodes coming up on Chasing Cardboard. You're going to like this.
So we delayed even more to get a promo for Chasing Cardboard. I'm going to skip this because I don't need to promote them. They can promote themselves. The channel's fine. If you want to check it out, check it out. But just to be clear, I don't need another promo Chasing Cardboard. I'd like us to get to the goddamn point. So we're going to skip ahead to that part where we actually get to the point. All right, here it is, folks. At almost 12 minutes, the moment of truth, the reveal of the autographs, which I already spoiled. But here it is.
That's true. Okay, so let's start with the auto that I sent off that was not listed. Okay?
Okay.
Not listed.
Oh my God.
What? Is it real?
Apparently it's real, according to PSA DNA.
Hold on. Let's get you a better. That lighting's not great. Everybody see that?
We see
But-
that.
Now, our conclusion here, he thinks that our conclusion is that now he's vindicated. My conclusion is you're an even bigger idiot for not just sending it in the first place. That's my conclusion. You should just send in the damn thing. It's worth more now. Of course, he's giving it away. You know, now it's a goodwill gesture. Good for you. But I'm just gonna point out now the damn thing's worth more. You should have just sent it in. You're a reseller. And a rock autograph is worth sending in. So now inside of the piece of plastic, it's worth more money. Anyway, vindication, I guess. Hashtag vindication. Good on you. Next.
It's in a slab. That's the important thing.
But the one that everyone cares about is the one that I listed for sale. For your eyes only.
And 400 of your favorite people. So
congratulations, guys. You have yourself a real Dwayne Johnson auto.
2, actually.
We got two. My immediate reaction. I'm going to say my immediate reaction, Mike.
Yes, please.
Because I know Rick really well. I've gotten to know Rick really well. Episode 29, where we got the cards from.
Hashtag trust Rick.
Not 29.
He was convicted, man. He was really convicted about it. He felt really bad. And we talked about it. And I said, do you have conviction? Like, I got conviction. I was just glad for him because he's vindicated to a certain extent. And I'm happy about that for him. There are some implications this has for the hobby. We're going to talk about that here in a second. And we're also going to give that card away tonight in a few minutes to one of you. That card, is this the most iconic rock auto in the history of the hobby?
It's got to be now. I mean,
No, stop overselling it. It's a rock autograph. It's infamous, if nothing else, in a very specific niche circle. But settle down, bud. You're not that important. But sure, go on.
I think it does have to be. And the other one, we're going to talk about that one here as well.
show the scans of the cards to maybe give people a better idea of the PSA scans that you got.
There you go. Let me do that for you.
So here they are. Obviously, PSA scans everything now when they authenticate it. So you guys can go check the cert numbers. If you don't believe us, whatever. There they are. There's the 2 cards.
Yep. They're beautiful. They look really good. I don't use PSA a lot, but they're really good.
You know what's the most beautiful part about them?
What's that?
Authentic.
Authentic. The story behind him is really neat. He ended up buying them from a guy that was on the road with WWE. And got a lot of autos from these wrestlers. And he has his own eBay account. I'm not going to share it. He has his own eBay account, and he sold hundreds and hundreds of non-COA autos, 100% feedback. So the autos we knew came from a guy that had a pretty good background. So we had to bite our tongue for a few months to make sure all this played out. But I'm super stoked. But can we talk real quick before we give these away? Can we talk about implications? Because there's a couple things that came to mind for me. Number one, does the quick opinion become worthless? Because Beckett and PSA quick opinions both came back as not real on that.
I think it just shows that, again, until they can actually see the autograph and look at it in their hand, it's a guess. They're guessing. They're taking maybe an informed guess, but it's still a guess. They don't have the card. Heck, I mean, like you said, PSA themselves said not likely authentic. And then they get the card and, now it's authentic. I mean, it's doesn't look good for quick opinions. What do you think?
Completely wrong, because of the reasons that I outlined in the previous reaction video. Because it's such an inexact science, you are comparing it to an exemplar. I already talked about this, but I'll quickly reiterate this. Since you're doing a comparison to what is considered to be a legitimate autograph, an exemplar, because of all the factors that I laid in, and I gave a silly example of one what I had signed directly in front of me that I could send in, and I haven't gotten a chance to do that yet, and I'd still like to. So at some point, I will follow up with you once I have done that. But I'm going to send it in just out of curiosity. But here's the thing. It could come back unauthentic, and that is completely plausible. It is also completely plausible that if you crack these out and send them back in, they would fail authentication in the second round, because you take an inexact science. We talk about grading, we talk about authenticating and questions about, all these different aspects of it. But an autograph is the worst, because it includes the human element into it, both from the authentication side, but also from the person actually doing the autograph. If the person's in a hurry, if a person is like trying to sign on an uneven surface, if the person could actually sign it for you and it will not match certain traits that will make it not look like it's legitimate. And that could be 100% what happens. And it could fail authentication, and you go take a look at the exemplar again, or maybe a new exemplar gets created because, well, that person's older now their handwriting's a little bit shakier. So actually their autograph is going to look like this post a certain point, versus the older autographs that are going to look like this when they signed it this way. They were younger, their hand was less shaky, and both could be legitimate autographs that look not completely similar, but still have a couple of traits that match up. And that's what you kind of have to work off of. So I would certainly wouldn't want to be in the autograph authentication game, because you could get it right 1,000 times in a row, but then suddenly go on a string of getting it wrong just because certain things don't match up to your eye. You're looking for certain things that don't line up or certain things that do line up, and it's not a science. It's almost an art form in and of itself. That's just something. So I don't think it invalidates the quick opinion. The quick opinion is just that, a quick opinion based on a high level thing. And in the original video that Ty kind of tries to present in this weird different way, even though, like I said, the video is archived, he presents it as if the quick opinion they gave is bad, but the quick opinion that other people gave, presumably based on either looking at it in hand for a moment or looking at a picture themselves, well, they said, I think it looks legitimate. Well, that's an opinion too. And they could also have been wrong. And again, it could have been 1 out of 2. So if it had been 1 out of 2, does that mean that the source is bad? No, not necessarily. It just means that the autographs might have come from 2 different time periods or 2 different locations or whatever the case may be. But the fact that they were able to get these authenticated doesn't change the fact that the response to it is completely wrong. And the things he acknowledges now, he didn't acknowledge back then. He didn't present it that way. But, good on them. They get to kind of take their little victory lap and vindication. But I don't think it draws a definitive conclusion that he wants. And then his second implication, I don't think is going to happen either, but for a different reason. So let's continue forward.
Totally agree. Quick opinions to me are a sham. I think they're a waste of money. This type of stuff can't happen. I mean, look.
That kind of stuff will happen. And it will happen again. And it will happen a million more times because of the reasons just previously outlined. But good on you. By the way, if both of these had come back inauthentic, is the grading authentication also a scam, also a sham? Because what if it had not worked out the way you wanted it to? That's kind of, like I said, it's a similar issue. Having it in hand is certainly helpful because you can take a closer look at it to find other indicators, but it doesn't guarantee that you were going to get the result you were looking for. And I don't think the Ty Cobb was ever mentioned, the result of that one. I'd be curious about the Ty Cobb as well. But the Rock are obviously the ones that are the focus of this conversation initially.
I'm going to guess someone at PSA knew the situation. So like if they wanted to not authenticate it because of what they already said, they would have done it. But DNA is legit, man. They go through these and they make sure they're real.
Right. They do make mistakes. Like, no, they're not perfect either.
Yeah.
But they had 2 of them, right? So.
Yeah. They had 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What other implications do we got?
Well, and I don't want to get too much into this, but the quick opinion stuff rolls into eBay. eBay threatened to suspend me over this particular incident because the quick opinion stuff is run by PSA, was sent to eBay, and they said they flagged certain cards. And so they were threatening to shut down a very large eBay store over the fact that the quick opinion was wrong. I don't know what to say about that outside of like eBay better step up and start protecting sellers a little more, because if that's the type of precedent you're setting, not a good precedent.
Yeah, definitely not.
Good luck with that one. eBay has consistently moved in favor of protecting the buyer as opposed to the seller for a lot of reasons. The fact that you can't leave a seller negative feedback, the fact that there are so many protections in place. It's good to have buyer protection. Let's not get this twisted. That's important for the marketplace to work out. But no, eBay has definitely favored the buyer over the seller, and the seller doesn't have a lot of recourse for a lot of things that happen. And that's a critique you can levy not just at this, but beyond this point into other things. So good luck with that. I'm glad that you call out something that you'd like to see changed, and you can certainly levy that opinion eBay's way. But I wouldn't hold my breath is the key that I would take away from that piece.
Definitely not. Okay, I guess last thing, and I'll let you tell me your opinion on this. You just got to be careful who you trust in the hobby, man. There's a lot of voices out there, a lot of people spewing stuff, and you just need to be careful. That's all I'm going to say. What is your take on that? What's your response?
Well, I mean, you can take that whole dynamic a whole bunch of ways. The reality is people can jump to conclusions. People can have their own opinions about things, but until you know, you don't really know. And we had to wait until we knew. And now we do. And now we're able to come out and say, here's the results. And the results could have been different, and this would be a different live stream. We'd still be doing a live stream, right? And we're here to just show what happened. Here's the finality of it.
Yeah.
It came back authentic. And I hate that, it turned into what it turned into. It seemed a little unnecessary, but what are you going to do? We can't control other people, that's for sure, and how they react and what they think. But the mob mentality is real.
Now I'm going to stop it there. If they do continue on and they do an additional giveaway, they're going to auction off one of the Rock autographs and give it to to a charity from a church or a mission. I forget, something like that. So you can check out. Like I said, I'll include a link to this live stream in the description, so you can check it out for yourself in its entirety. So right at about the 18-minute mark, then they go on to talk about some other things and also do the giveaway. So that was part of it as well. But I am going to say that again, Mike touches on the same issue that I did critique these guys, and I also did it when Mike was there. Is that they're focusing on the idea that, oh, we can't control what other people. You're right, but you created some of the scenarios that allowed some of those people to make those points, which were not entirely bad points. You may not have liked that they made those points, and you hold yourself up as this, as this pillar that, well, how can you question me on this? No, you put people in a position where they were very right to question you. You don't deserve this benefit of the doubt that you decided you deserve because you did this wrong. The relisting it, and I'm glad that Ty actually said it this time. Heaven forbid, he actually got the words out somehow without choking or something. He was able to say that the relisting was the issue, and the relisting was the issue. You want to list it the first time and give it a shot? That happens. As soon as there's a question about it, though, then it's worthwhile doing the additional step to check it out, especially on an item that potentially could have quite a big difference between, oh, just take a flyer and see what happens on an eBay auction versus an autograph that has a ton of value. Having those two cards authenticated increased the value substantially. The original sale was $66. You're going to get much more than $66 for the other one in auction with that additional authentication step. It was worth the additional effort to get that done in the first place. And once again, from just a customer service perspective, if you had just taken that and said, okay, well, there's a question about it, let's go look into it, and we'll find out what's going on with that one. And if that had been the response the whole time and consistently, again, there's always going to be some people that are just going to take pot shots for the sake of taking pot shots, but you gave them all the fuel they needed to take those shots beyond the ones that are always going to be there, because you didn't do this correctly. Or I should say, you didn't do this in the way that you could have, that would have prevented a good chunk of the pushback and criticism that you got. So the fact that this came back for you, you're right. You probably would have done the live stream regardless if it had come back the other way, but your tone would have been very different because, hey, it turned out you were wrong and it didn't work out the way you wanted it to. Or if one of the two had not come back authenticated, I think you would have also had a bit of a different tone, especially if it had been the one in question. If the one in the auction had been the one to come back on authenticated and the other one's okay, then again, you don't really have much of a victory lap to give, even though it worked out in this case. I just think from top to bottom, my takeaway from this is that the guys don't learn. They still haven't learned, honestly. Good for them that they were in their mind vindicated. Really, justice for Rick. Good for Rick. Is really the winner in this one. Because now we know that in all cases we must trust Rick. Rick is the authenticator that we all needed, and we didn't even know. So now we know that Rick is the arbiter of all things. So I wanted to make sure I covered that. I'm going to pause for a second here, do a little quick editing, and I'll come back with some final thoughts. I actually forgot this final piece, so Ty still gets in one last swipe here at the very end. So I want to make sure I include it. So let me include that one here as Mike finishes up a topic of mob mentality. So let's finish this off with this one.
The mob mentality is real. You are exactly right. You're exactly right.
And by the way, that works both ways. Like we have a lot of people that were supportive of us all through this, and they either know us or just love the show, and they were the mob on our side, I guess. If you had two sides to this story, which seems silly, let's let it play out. Then you can make an assessment. We have, but thank you to everybody that was supportive of us through this whole process. We really appreciate it.
We do. And there was a lot of people that did send us messages and just say, hey, keep your head up, keep producing good stuff, and let the hobby watchdogs do what they do.
Right.
Thanks for watching, watchdogs. Okay, so
I felt he was insincere in that. Did you sense some sarcasm there? Did you feel a little bit of that? I felt a little bit about that. I thought it was very funny. I'm certainly not in the watchdog category, but I just thought it was very funny that he took a little swipe at the end there. He couldn't help himself. I just thought, again, I mentioned it in the original video. I appreciate some sass, and we got a little bit of sass there for Ty there at the end. So anyway, like I said, the real takeaways. Number one, autograph authentication is not an exact science. It's certainly an art form more than a science, really, and there's a lot of murkiness to it. Again, we could crack out those rock autos, run them back in again, and they could just as easily come back in authenticated the second time around. So that's why I mean, and a lot of people complain about the stuff with authenticating cards and, grading cards and all that, but autographs are worse because there are legitimate reasons why something could look a little bit off, and there are legitimate reasons why that could be the case. And there are authenticated autographs that turns out were completely wrong. They were secretarial, or somebody else actually did it, or it was an auto pen. And there's just so many ways that people have made fake autographs that it's just extremely difficult, because we're dealing with human beings trying to authenticate something that was written by a human being. And that's why I gave the analogy in the first video where I just said, okay, try it yourself. Go get a piece of paper and just try signing your own signature. Sign it 20, 30 times and go take a look at it, and you're going to see tiny little variations. And that's you doing your best, and try your best to replicate it as closely as you can. And what you're going to find is it's actually very difficult. And there are going to be the slight variances. What you're hoping for, if you're the authenticator, is that there are certain telltale signs, the way you do a certain letter, or the way the amount of pressure you put down on it. And you're trying to put all these pieces together with maybe an example that you have, and trying to see if the two things kind of match up. It's no wonder that you could have some legitimate difficulty in trying to put those pieces together. The real piece that they consistently tried to gloss over yet again is that the small issue, because stuff happens. If somebody is a little bit brings into suspicion, again, the easiest response would have been, okay, thanks for thanks for we'll look into it. The most basic, generic, meaningless response, because you don't even have to really look into it. After you give that response, you could just be done with it and throw it in the box and come back to it later. But if you are going to look into it, in that case, there was enough value to go and send in the cards in and just get them checked out. In this case, it enhanced the value actually having them in the little piece of plastic holders. So those autographs are worth more. The fact that you made it into a giveaway, fine, great PR. Look, let's face it. For all the complaining and the little, victimization, oh, woe is us, that, these mean people came and said all this stuff about us, is that it's great publicity. You can position however you want. It's great publicity. You made it into a giveaway, so that wins you over some goodwill with some folks. That's great. And in the end, it kind of drew some additional eyeballs to your product. And you knew that, because even in this giveaway special live thing that you did, you included promos for upcoming episodes. You included the giveaway. You included a couple of other things that are like, all right, draw some additional eyeballs to this. You understand how to play this game. Even in the thumbnail, Ty did the thing where he made it look like he was burning one of the rock autos. They're playing in the clickbait game too. So it's like, you can't complain about the negative side of things, but you also played into it. You understood that would get you some additional eyeballs to it. So it's like, it's the best advertisement that Jason Cardboard could have had. So anyway, so that's it for me. If we feel like it, we'll talk about it more on Friday. There's certainly stuff going on that we can talk about a little bit here and there. We'll touch on some of it for sure. Otherwise, more videos come up on the channels. I will include a link to this live in the description. I'll include a link to my original video on it. The good news for me is, like I said, since I made no proclamations about the autograph one way or the other, and just talk about the response, which was still terrible, everything I said there still is good with me. Still stands on my end, and I'm quite happy with it. And then I did also do, I don't remember what episode it was. I did an episode right around that time where Mike came on to talk about this a little bit. If I can remember which one it is, I'll include a link to that as well. But either way, it was just talking through that piece. But yeah, so there was that element of it. And there you go. I come back for the reaction side of things. So I did a little reaction to the live. Had a little fun with that. And then I guess that'll be a button on this topic for now, until the next thing happens somewhere out in Hobbyland. So that's it for me. Like if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much. And we'll catch you in the next one.